Hi, everyone. It's September 1st, and it's First Fridays in September. Today, we're talking about, are you owning your profession or is it a hobby? And I was just sharing with Gretchen that it's been 2 years since I've been full-time in my business, so it's a great day to start this topic. Gretchen's going to lead into it, and then we might have some Q&As or discussions to get you from being a hobby coach to being a professional coach.
Yes, I love that. Thank you, Christine. Congratulations on your 2 years. That's fantastic. And hi, everyone. Hi, Oscar. I'm happy to see you. I got to say hi.
Hi, Gretchen.
Good to
Hello,
see you.
everyone. Hi,
Really?
Michael. Hi,
Hey,
Christine.
Oscar.
I'm signing it. Sorry, I was a little late because it's like 8 a.m. over here. I'm in Singapore.
Oh my
Ooh.
goodness. Well, I'm so glad that you're
Yes.
here. That's wonderful.
Yes. Me too. Me too.
Yeah. So, like Christy said, one of the things that I thought would be interesting to talk about is this idea of hobby versus profession when it comes to being a coach. And so many times, what I see when I'm working with coaches is that they want to earn professional money while having a hobby mindset. And I have never met a coach who can earn professional money while having a hobby mindset. So I thought that it might be great for us to kind of talk about the way that you approach coaching. Are you treating it like it's your job, or are you treating it like it's something after the fact, something to quote unquote work on, and how we can maybe shift your mindset. And we're a small group, so we can talk kind of individually about what might get in your way from owning your professional self. The other thing too is that when you're thinking about, is this a profession or a hobby, what you'll notice is for those of you who do feel like coaching is a profession, client outreach will be different for you than those of you who are treating this more like a hobby. And here's how. When I wake up each day and I'm going to come to coach and those sorts of things, I'm not thinking things like, I hope I get one today. Well, I don't really know if I feel like it. Doesn't matter. I have to go to work because it's my profession and I'm going to treat it like a profession. And most of the times, every day actually, I have already decided the night before what is going to happen the next day. My calendar is full and I have been seeding clients for weeks. So whoever it is that I'm working with tomorrow, they're probably someone that I was in conversation with a year ago. And that's the difference between profession and hobby. A hobby is something where it's like, well, I'd really like to be a coach, but I have to do all of these other things, or I don't really like the client creation part. And if there's a way that I could avoid that, I would. And so the mindset of showing up professionally and really owning your work ethic are missing when it's a hobby. So I'm just going to open it there and let you guys sort of ask your questions and we'll just get into it. So tell me, for you, for how many of you does this feel like it's a profession? Stephen, it's a profession. Yeah, Oscar, it's a profession. Christy, it's a profession. Okay. Michael?
Yeah, so I'm gonna say it's a profession, but I'm also gonna say I shifted more from, and I didn't have a hobby mentality, but I kind of I vacillated, right? I was like, what do I need to do? And I kind of let it go. And there was some issue, my own headspace around it. And now that I'm really focused, and what I'm finding too is profession doesn't necessarily mean, maybe Steve Chandler would disagree, I don't know, that it's 24/7, but it's like whatever time you really commit to it, whether it's 3 hours of client creation and setting up enrollment coaches, once you carve out specific amount of time every single day, it also shifts you into being professional, right? For me, it did. That's what I needed. That's what I needed.
So what I'm hearing you say is that regardless of how much time you have a week, that when you approach it, the reason it feels like a profession is because you're approaching it from a professional standpoint.
Correct. So now I actually have, a few paying clients, and it's super, I'm more than excited. And of course, that's catapulting me into creating more enrollment conversations, and it's getting the ideas going of how to look beyond just, referrals or getting a list. I don't know, I'm thinking bigger now. So that's becoming more of a profession.
Yeah. And what Michael just said too, and congratulations, Michael, is the part about thinking bigger. You know, that when we're thinking bigger, we're not just thinking of this as, I hope I can pay my rent. We have vision behind our bigger. So one of the things that I thought might be fun is for everyone to take a minute and think about, what is your vision, your true reason for coaching and for deciding to step into it as a profession. And if you haven't quite decided that you want to step into it as a profession, it does still feel like a hobby, that's okay too. But just, it's really important to connect yourself with your why, your reason. And I'll share mine. You know, the reason that I really, really think of this as a profession is because the work that I get to do feels very meaningful. You know, sometimes it can be about it's always about the person that I'm coaching. It's not about the dollar amount that I'm going to be making from them. And I always know that I'm going to be holding space for them to step into their next level. Sometimes there's some tears that come with that. Sometimes there's really deep awakenings that come with that. But I'm always coaching soul line and the goal line, but mostly the who is the person being. And that feels like important work. And so my why is to help as many people as possible who want movement and who want to go deeper in their life, because I know that what that means is that ripple effect that they're going to create by being different in the world, by ushering in their dreams and their talents, will change others. So that's my why. And I wonder, for you, does anyone want to share what their why is? Stephen.
Yeah, I guess the reason why I got into coaching and why I view it as a profession is, I've seen the amount of action and motion it's put into my life, and it's only furthered the things that I've wanted to do. And it also gave me the perspective. I felt like I was breaking out of a box, because I feel like musicians were always thinking like, oh yeah, I'm just so happy playing my instrument, so if you give me $5, I'll just do whatever. And as nice as that sentiment is, that you enjoy that so much, like you enjoy playing your instrument that much that you do it for, something like that. Just once you give somebody that perspective of, you could be so much more, you could be who you want to be, Barbie girl, but you can be the person you want to be, you can get the things you want to do, and still play your instrument, still love the career that you're also living. And I think there's just such an underserved, I feel like most musicians are just underserved in that sense. So I guess that's why I feel like it's a profession for me at this point.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. Who else wants to share about your why? Why coaching as a profession? Aska.
So for me, I love to see the impact of transformation in the people that I coach. And then, like you said, Gretchen, the ripple effect that thereafter it has for the people around them is really exponential. And for me, what makes it so empowering is I love the deepness of the conversation that I get to have as a profession. And I don't think there's any other profession that I've had up until this day that I'm able to sit down with another person that I don't know that well and quickly able to dive into such deep soul searching conversation.
Yeah, and it makes all the difference. And really knowing and understanding that also helps you step into that professional self, because we realize that the work is important. It's not just about us. So one of the other things to clarify when it comes to hobby versus profession, or day job versus profession, is that this isn't just about the money. It's about the underlying attributes of what we as coaches do and bring out in the world. And it's important. It's really important work. So I'm going to open the floor to your questions. Where do you get stuck being a professional in the coaching industry? What maybe is hard for you, or a challenge that you've come up against that you'd like to get some movement on? Stephen.
So where I get stuck the most right now is, I do all this work, and I get all this action, and I'm trying to step into the coach I want to be. And then when I reach out, a majority of the people that I'm reaching out to, they're either colleagues or friends, and I have a relationship with them as a musician, and I try to be as personable and as vulnerable as I can with them. They usually know what's going on in my life as well, and I've been, I'm very joking and things like that. And it seems like when I reach out to people, the sentiment is still there, that it's like, oh, how, like I literally had somebody tell me the other day, like, oh, how professional, Stephen. Yeah, let's talk, I guess, kind of thing. So it's just, for me, I'm getting stuck in the place of, well, yes, I have great relationships, and I try to be as personable, and also, I try to be funny and well liked in this profession because it's so important. But the second that it's like, okay, well, let me actually try to help you out, they're like, ha ha ha, like it's great, like sure, let's talk, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. So for you, it's bridging the gap from how they know you to professional coach.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I wonder, with these people that you're asking if they'd like to have a conversation, are you making it specific about what you know about them and how it might be helpful?
Yeah, actually I think so. I mean, even last week, the same person that like said like how professional, they're going through a lot of the things that I feel like I could help serve them. And I told them that, I was like, you're going through this type of transition period. Like, I see this in like your career path, and these are some of the things that I handled. And I feel like I'd love to hear where you are through a conversation.
Hmm.
But
Mhm.
maybe I'm not
So,
saying something.
well, it first of all, congratulations for getting out there. That takes a lot of bravery to step into something new, especially when they know you as a musician. One thing that I'm curious about is there was a lot of I in that. I can help you. I specialize in this. I, rather than getting them curious about the value of a coaching session with you, meaning by talking to you, what's that going to uncover? So let's say that the person is going through whatever it is that you said that they were going through, whatever you realized. And what if you were to say something like, George, I'm really hearing that you're struggling with blank, or I really hear that you're considering blank. I know that you really know me as a musician, but one of the things that I am certified in is coaching. And I wonder if it would be valuable to you to have a conversation just focusing on whatever the thing is that they said. And if we can see if we can move the needle on that for you.
Yeah, I'm just like, yeah, my mind just going, Steven, why, like, come on, dude, you've been told this multiple times. That I didn't even see if you was struggling with those things. I just assumed that you're going through this, so you're probably struggling with this, rather than asking, are you
Yeah.
going through these issues?
So great catch right there. It's about the permission. It's the asking. It's kind of like when someone becomes part of a certain group or organization, and they're going to sell an MLM, and they think everybody needs their product. Oh, well, you should really buy my specialty because it's going to help you, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, I don't like tea. I don't want help with blah, 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 but get away from me, and it's the same thing with coaching, that we really can repel people when we're like, hey, and I specialize in this and I do this, and 25 cents over here, I can do this too, and you should have it. And they're like, no, instead of, I wonder if it would be helpful for you. I wonder if that's something that you'd be interested in.
Yeah, I guess that would do it, I'd say.
Yeah. So permission, or wait for them to ask a question.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Good. And that's just a nuance, and so here's the deal: is we're stepping out of hobby or learning more about the career of being a professional coach. These are the nuances that help you to get there. So that's great. I'm so glad that you shared that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Who else has something that they want to bring into the group that we can talk through? It can be in relation to client creation, anything you want. Oscar.
So even though I said profession, this year has been kind of interesting. As you know, Gretchen, I've been bouncing around, and I've left Los Angeles. So Los Angeles was kind of like the main place where I was coaching. And because of that, I think I fell into the mentality. I was like, oh, it's going to be really difficult to reach out. I still have about, 4 to 5 clients that I'm working with, thankfully, but I haven't quite gotten into the mentality of client creation. Mm-hmm. And I've watched all your videos of all the First Wednesdays, and I've actually read the book of the Prosperous Coach as well. Mm-hmm. So now it's like sinking in all the things that you've been talking about. And I'm like, oh, I haven't really gotten that part right about the creation part. Like, I feel like I've had clients, I've had a stream of clients, but have I really been seeding and having those conversations? So if and when they needed someone, they know how or who to reach out to. Mm-hmm. And so that was the part that I don't think I've ever done. I've told people that I was networking and people that I've met as professions, but just like Steven said, I haven't really reached out to the people who knew me because it was just like, oh, they know me as a friend and that's that relationship. So I hadn't really carved that out. So I just kind of wanted to say, what are some of the advice that you have to kind of reach out to the people that I haven't been in contact for quite some time, right? Because I have people in Japan, I have people in Asia, I have people in Europe. We have friendly relationships and I check in with them, but I don't really have these deep, like, oh, what's going on with you right now? Okay. Or even like business conversations.
Yeah, and so good catch on your part with what's true and what's not. And I wonder, with everything that you've heard me say, and with reading the book and everything else, what do you think you should do?
Well, I definitely think I haven't tapped into this like gold mine. And I think I was afraid of oh no, but I don't want to see her that way. Like the Emma, the multi-level marketing style. Like I didn't want to be that person. But then I realized but how do I know what it is that they want? Like, there's no way I can ask in a way. It's like, hey, this is now what I do. I have some slots available. I really want to help people because I know it's tough times right now. Do you know anybody who may really value this type of conversation?
Okay.
And then just leave it at that.
You could do it that way. One thing, whether it's tough times or great times, who cares, right? Like, I don't know that I would capitalize on it's tough times because then you tend to get the people who are thinking that things are tough. They probably think then that they don't have any money. And I don't know if you want it to be like it's tough times. You could go that route, but I wonder if instead it's, hey, so-and-so, whatever you know about them, man, the world has changed in the last 2 years. Never thought we'd be here. I'm living in Japan now. And if they don't know that you're a coach, tell them, one of the things that I did is I got certified as a coach, or I really have been putting all of my focus on coaching. And here's what I love about it, wondering, what are you going through these days? What does your world really look like? And then if they email you back, you have an opportunity when you read it to say, could you use some help with that? Would a conversation be useful?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I like that.
And that way, then there's the question and the opening. Sometimes too, what happens is coaches go too fast. And what we all need to remember is to slow it down, to really slow things down. Maybe the first conversation is just, hey, you were on my mind. I'm in Japan now, been coaching. I'd love to catch up. And then in that catch up, you hear something and you say, wondering if you'd like to have a conversation about that. I know we were just catching up today, but wondering if that would be useful for you.
Mm-hmm. No, I like that.
Yeah, good. And no need to rush to the finish line. Tell me what you like about it.
So I love the fact that you said good times, bad times, and you're absolutely right. I do not want to coach somebody who is struggling with bad times and is feeling a little desperate. I want to work with people who are ready to make the change because there's a different mentality and energy. And I love working with the latter. So that was a good advice. I'm definitely going to use that because I feel like, oh, but I want to help. And then it's like, oh, but I want to help you. So that already kind of clarifies the way I'm showing up and what I can offer in terms of energetically aligning to that. So that was really great. And then, I hear you, we just have to slow down. We just have to slow down. And I was trying to make sense of that. Now I'm like, oh, okay. So it just has to flow. If I see an opportunity to have that conversation, then I can. And if I don't, I just say, hey, this is what I'm doing. And, I really love this kind of work. And then just kind of open that up slowly and just see if there's an opportunity to ask that question.
Yeah. Yeah. Coaching is one of these really strange professions where and I say this all the time, that we have to connect with people, but we try to avoid human contact as much as possible. So it's such a weird dichotomy, right? Like, I want to coach people, but I never want to tell them what I do. They have to somehow figure it out on their own. I don't know how they will. And so the truth is, if it's not something that we need to be embarrassed about that we coach, if you go somewhere else and someone says they're a dentist, they're not like, oh, I'm a dentist. But, coaches try to say all sorts of brilliant things where you're like, I don't understand what you are doing. But if we just say, hey, coach. And the other thing too is always, anytime you can, take it from being a concept, the concept of what coaching is, to an experience. That's really what professionals do. We give an experience.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Michael.
So you definitely nailed something that I feel like is an obstacle, which is moving too fast. And also, I don't want to say prejudging, but can I give you an example?
Yes, please.
So I have part of my practice or business is focused on an area that I know well, which are people who work in the music industry. Though that is not necessarily the people that I work with in the music industry. It's not just about their careers. It could be, anything that any other client or, new coach, new client would struggle with. So those are just my go-to people, right? So I have this guy that is a very good contact, and we have a very good relationship. We've not seen each other in a couple of years, and I contacted him, and he was very excited that we connected. And I kind of know him, and I know that he's one of those super self-aware people. He, kind of like isn't necessarily like someone who would be like my ideal coaching client, but he gets it. He really gets it. And so I've had 2 sessions with him, and my idea is that he's going to be an awesome person to be a referral, because he gets what I do. He keeps saying, oh, you're like an artist manager. Oh, you're a manager. And I keep saying, well, not really. I may have managerial type, parallels with coaching, but it's quite different, because managers often hold artists' hands and whatever. That's not what I want to do. But he just has it stuck in his mind. So finally, we've had 2 sessions. I think he gets it. He's like, I see your value. I totally see what your value is. I don't think I need it, which I wasn't going after him per se. And so I want to invite him in the next conversation. I said, I think, as far as what you and I are doing, I think unless you feel a need to continue our conversations, which I absolutely love and I'd be happy to do it, feel free to reach out. And then I said, I would like to have a 15-minute conversation with you about kind of my next idea. And so my idea is that I want to maybe create some kind of incentive program, because he's super connected, and maybe he would refer me to people.
I love this. And I wonder if you even need the incentive program. I wonder if if he really sees your value, that you can thank him and say, this has been so fun coaching you, and I'm really glad that you got the value. Tell me specifically what you've received. Let him tell you. And then say, I know you said that it's not for you at this time, and that's no problem at all. I'm just glad that we got the opportunity for you to really feel the experience of coaching. But I'm wondering, who in your world could benefit from this kind of an experience that you might want to hook me up with? And just ask. You don't have to create an incentive program. If you think about it, $100, $200, that's usually not the thing that gets high level people to move forward.
Right.
While you can send a nice gift if someone refers you or that sort of thing, I don't think it's necessary. And sometimes I even wonder if it cheapens it. Now, not
probably.
You know,
It
and
might.
not always. Sometimes if it's
Yeah.
like an acupuncturist or a massage
Right.
therapist and you have like a back and forth thing, then the referral program's great. But when it comes to high level people, I don't know that, you know, a $200, whatever your incentive would be, is the thing
I
that
don't
makes
even know what it would be.
right. It's usually the value. And so remember, this is the thing that professionals know. It's always the value that the other person has received that will build your business. Anyone who receives value from you, they leave changed in some way and different. You don't need to ask them for a referral because you know they're going to give you the referral.
I mean, I definitely like that. That dialogue feels so much more, you know, real, kind of more who I really actually am. I'm kind of like, you know, I know how these people operate. They're busy, they're crazy. I'm not going to be necessarily top of mind unless I keep calling and reminding them.
You'll be top of mind if you've created extreme value.
And I don't know. I feel like I have, but I don't know if I have.
You have, you'll know. You know, if you have, you'll know.
Yeah.
I'm going to read you guys something. So today I got this thank you card. It says, Dear Gretchen, who knew back in April of 2019 how different 2 years ago would look and make my life be? Thank you for your work, your friendship, and the generous gift. I am so happy to have Rachel in my life, and I don't think I could have done that without our work together. I'm also launching that business that we planted years ago. Thank you so much, with so much gratitude and appreciation. So this guy, we worked together 2 years ago. He couldn't get a date, couldn't get a job, couldn't do anything. Now he's married and he's launching a business. That's value. He's going to refer me. I don't have to ask him, hey, so-and-so, can you refer me? Now I could, and I don't have to say, hey, I'll give you X if you refer me. He's going to refer me just because he's going to refer me because the value was so high. Yeah. If I wanted to, I could follow up with an email and say, thank you so much for that, you know, card. If you know anyone else who could use the same sort of experience that you received, put us in touch. I could do that, and that would be fine. So think of those things too, Michael. Just when you create tremendous value, people want to let you know and they want to tell others.
Okay. Agree.
Helpful?
I think, yeah, and I think it's, you just said, I think it's really going back and asking that question. Is this of value to you? What, you know, and I did say that to him. And I think I gave him value, but I also think that, you know, he has this whole thing going on. Well, you made me just realize how self-aware I really am.
Okay. So maybe
I guess that's value. I don't know.
The thing is this, you never have to guess about value. You can just ask, what value did you get from this today? How are you leaving changed? What shifted for you in our conversation? And you can ask.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's bold coaching. Bold coaching is professional coaching, which gives referrals.
Great.
Yeah, good. Adam, do you have anything that you want to share?
I've been thinking through it, and I haven't come up with anything yet. But okay. I think for me, it's, as we've talked about before, the prioritization of time with having a new baby and got the 9 to 5 going on. Prioritizing that time with the lack of sleep is something I'm working through. But I will throw something in there as soon as I've got something for you.
Okay, no problem. I just wanted to make sure you were included.
Thank you.
How many hours of sleep are you getting, Adam? I just have to ask.
Not enough, Michael, not enough.
Fair enough.
Having newborn babies is like going to boot camp, I think. Yeah.
Woo.
So who else? Yeah, go ahead, Oscar. What's your next question?
Not a question, but it's kind of a share and an observation that I've had. And, you know, obviously listening to you, Gretchen, but also doing this work. Coaching is so different from what I used to think it was. And this is more about the tightening, right? As a profession, like you said, we have to actively kind of go out there and state some things that really matter to us, like not leaving like, oh, was this really valuable? Oh, this was so much fun, we should do it again. It's like, tell me exactly what specifically changed for you. That's a very pinpointed question and super powerful, because then that makes them think and then become very aware. Then you can also take that as well for yourself.
Yeah.
So what I'm seeing is that, being a coach isn't really about being good at coaching. I think we're all really good at coaching and we can always get better. So that's a different pipeline of to-dos, right? And to strive for. But it's this other stuff that we kind of have to relearn, because I don't know if there's any other profession that really dives in this deep to follow up, ask that question. You know what I mean? And I'm finding this is the art of, like you say, art of enrollment, but there's enrollment in every single place that you can actually put it in. And I think that's what makes it different as a profession versus the hobby. Let me know what you think.
100%. Yes. And I love what you said there, and this is the part about not being afraid. So as coaches, there's two places within the coaching session that you want to see that the client is getting what they need and their value. Midway through, you want to restate whatever it is that you guys have agreed you're going to be coaching on, and you want to restate their desired outcome and just say, hey, I know you wanted to work on this and that you were hoping to leave with this other thing. Are you getting what you need? And what that does is it puts the pressure back on the client to do their thinking. It lets the coach relax and realize, am I overworking? Am I doing their thinking for them? Am I preoccupied and I'm texting while I'm coaching? Like whatever it is, like wake up. And then the client can say yes or no. And either way, the next question to ask is, what's still missing? If they're getting it, fantastic, but what's still missing? If they're not getting it, what's still missing? It's just the best question. Then you continue coaching. And at the end, when you find out, what did you get today? What are you taking with you? It's for them and it's for you, because it makes them cement their own learning to say that, wow, when I show up to these coaching sessions, it can't just be that I'm here and my coach is going to entertain me with some great stories. What do I need to get so that I'm getting the value? And part of that too, as a professional, it comes from deciding that when you take on a new client, you want to tell them on the onset of how it works in coaching. Each week, I want you to show up ready to go, write these things down, know what it is that you want to get from our coaching sessions, pay attention to how you're leaving changed. Then again, you're creating a really safe container, a professional container where you've guided the client and really laid out what it's going to look like to work together.
Yeah. And there's one more thing that came up for me. I did have a client, paid and everything, ghost me and then became silent for about 2 months. Yeah. And she came back and she said, I'm so sorry. And she had her excuse and we're back coaching again. But I realized one thing from that lesson was that, I need to be very clear. There's no stopping, right? I think this is something that you say as well, as like, you can't stop once we start. You can't hide behind fear, because this is going to be some deep work. And I think it would have changed the outcome of that interaction had I mentioned that before we started.
Yes, yes. And so this is the other place where you're stepping into being a professional. We have all sorts of professional agreements with whoever the professionals are in our life. It's the same with coaching. We have to tell people what's expected. So when I lay that out with a client, that there's no stopping and, restarting, that it's like pressure's on, let's go, and that's where too, when you are onboarding somebody before you decide if they're your client, it's really important to say those things that I've taught everybody about. Hey, it's more than about the money. Are you committed to this process and are you ready? Yeah. Yeah, that's good, Oscar.
Thank you.
Yeah. Who else has a question? What else is going on in your coaching life? Yes, Adam.
All right, now I have one for you.
Okay, good.
So I have a current client who is a career coaching client. As you know, I'm not overly excited about the career coaching. I'm happy to accept money to help somebody find a new job, whatever, but I would like to get to the point where I really wow him with the coaching, not myself wowing him, but I I want him to get something out of it other than the next job. And I don't think that that's going to be attached to our career coaching. And I'm trying to figure out, I've got a thought that I offer him 2 free sessions at the end of his contract to go over something deeper that he wants to check in on. Just something where I can add help to get some additional value for him and potentially be able to build a pipeline through him that's not just around career coaching. But I've been sitting with that idea and I haven't been able to figure out, other than throwing in a couple more sessions and saying focal point on some of the stuff we went over in our initial discovery call with some of the other topics you wanted to focus on. But I've been toying with that idea and I haven't been able to really get anything concrete.
Okay, so it's a great question. Here's the deal. You don't have to wait to wow him until the end. What you can say to him next session is just, and I know who it is, so-and-so, I'm wondering for you, we've got this career and we're working on that, but today, what's not career related that you need to move the needle on? Or what's the real thing that you could use some help on if we take the career out of it for a minute, because everything's interconnected. So maybe it's something with a thought that he has. Maybe there's a theme that you've noticed of a way that he shows up or a belief that's going on. You can say, I've noticed session after session, this belief that blah, blah, blah. And I don't know what the belief might be, but whatever it is. Today I was working with a client and I could just hear it. He didn't say it, but I said, I want to see if I have this right. Do you have a belief that work has to be hard? He was blown away. He was like, oh, well, yeah, I guess so. And it's like, well, then no wonder these are the results you're creating. And so if you can get to something like that, if you have an intuitive hit, bring it up, coach him around that. You can even say, hey, today, let's coach around your soul line rather than your goal line. Your goal line is the job, but what's going on internally that needs to shift? And since you've been working with him for several sessions at this point, Adam, I almost wonder if you already know what it is and if you can just bring it up and into the space. Oh no, did we lose Adam?
He was right.
There
you are. Did you hear me, Adam?
My computer crashed while you were talking and I missed all of that. And I'm very, very sorry.
It's okay. So basically what I said is, what do you intuitively know? Did it crash again?
What I can do is I can send him the portion of the transcript.
Okay. All right. Oh, you're back. You're back.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you intuitively know about this client that you can bring up on a deeper level rather than just this whole goal about getting a new career?
Awesome.
If you bring that to the session and don't wait for the bonus sessions, do it now. And then if you still want to, a lot of times at the end of a contract with a client, I will say, you get an extra session with me, use it anytime between now and whenever it is that you want them to use it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Helpful?
It is. Yeah. Yeah. And when you're saying that, I was picking out a few different areas I've seen as common themes, but not ones that we focus on in our current sessions. So that would be fun to be able to pick those apart with them.
Yeah. And remember to say to clients too, that the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. So the way he's doing career is the way that he does everything. And so nothing is actually separate. We want to make these buckets in our life. This one's romance, this one's career, this is parenting. It all intermingles because we can't cut off our own arms. You know what I mean? And so knowing that and knowing that everything's interconnected, you will be a better coach, a more professional coach when you can hear that and you're coaching around themes rather than the problem. It's like coach the person, not the problem.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, you got it. Great question. Who else has something that you're wondering? Stephen.
So to follow up with this person, I'm just wondering, do I backtrack and say, I'm so sorry for assuming your problems and try it again? Or do I use this conversation as like hearing it and being like, oh, well, then maybe a coaching session would be beneficial.
Where did you leave it with them? Did the person say yes?
Yes, we're having a conversation this Saturday. Well, we're talking Saturday.
Talk Saturday. Have some good questions. Did you give them anything to prepare for the conversation?
No, that was actually in one of the pods for the roundtable thing. That was one of the suggestions that somebody gave me. But I didn't necessarily, because I felt like that gap was too big to just throw questions to be like, hey, now it's a coaching conversation for real kind of thing.
Okay. So in the future, the thing that you want to do is you do want to make sure that whoever is going to spend time with you is taking it seriously. To show up as a professional, we have to teach people that this isn't just like, oh, we're going to, talk about barbecuing, that instead be prepared with what you want to talk to me about. Yeah. And it can be basic questions. What's your biggest challenge right now? How would you like your life to be different? I say these are basic questions, but they're not. They make people think, but it can just be like 2 or 3 to prep the mind. Now with this person, don't worry about if you messed it up. It already is what it is. So you might as well just be bold and show up fully present. A lot of the times, even just being fully present and asking curious questions will help a potential client move forward.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then from that curiosity, you can say, I'm really hearing this and this. I know I didn't even ask you before if you wanted coaching. I just kind of assumed that this would be helpful. Wondering, would you like to have a coaching conversation about this?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, good, Stephen. And it's funny too, because when we think we've blown it, just go for it then. Who cares? You can't blow it any worse, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's kind of been my week. I've just been like mishaps over mishaps, and I'm just like, I just gotta, keep going through. But
what it really means, instead of mishaps after mishaps, is learning after learning. Learning opportunity after learning opportunity, that sometimes we do stumble. It's impossible not to. It's just like when you were learning your instrument, your fingers are in the wrong place and whatever it is, it's okay. You'll get this too.
Yep. I still haven't figured that one out either. So
well, see, and look at how good you are at it. So there you go. I mean, really, there you go.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome. Who else has something? Okay, so are you speaking, Michael?
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to unmute. I didn't know if I was on mute or what.
Good.
I think, and this is kind of a big picture observation. I think, like Oscar said, we're all good coaches, great coaches, whatever, phenomenal coaches. But I think sometimes it's really just getting comfortable with the language. You know what I mean? With not just saying the words, but really connecting, really giving the whole idea, not giving the idea, giving value, really being in the space. And that just that's why Steve Chandler and other people say, how do you become not only a really good coach, but how do you turn it into a profession? You coach, and so just, I don't know, sometimes I think for me, I overthink things instead of just diving in and really being all those things: present, serving, not overthinking what needs to be said, what should be said. I don't know.
Yeah. And those are all ways to create the value. And most of the time, it just has to do with your presence. When we fully show up, not preoccupied, not in a rush, not with I have to get this person to do this thing, but we're really just there, that adds value. That always adds value. Whenever you're with someone 100% completely, they can feel that, because the world does not show up even at 50% most of the time.
Yep.
We're so ping-ponging in our head all the time. There's a text, there's this, there's that. But when you are really with somebody, they know it. They know it.
Yep.
And that's value. Other things that create value, maybe there is something that you come across and it's like, oh, this client would benefit from this. they would really benefit from this. Send it to them, refer it to them. There are all sorts of things that could be helpful. And remember, value also happens in between sessions. It really requires thinking about your client, not just when they're in front of you. One of my clients, I know some things about her partner, and I sent him a book. And my client emailed me and said, that was so nice of you. And I said, yeah, I know that you shared these two things with me. And so I thought that this might be helpful. I don't know if it is or not, but I thought it would. And it means a lot to the client that not only are you thinking about me, but you sent this book to my spouse. So what are the things, remember special days too for your clients. Have another client, they have one child that launched to college and another one that just started kindergarten. So they have a huge window. And I remembered the days and just said, okay, mama, how's your heart today? That adds value because it's like, we're thinking about them in between. I have a client that they have parents that live in New Orleans. Well, there's a lot going on there right now. I texted, hey, everything okay with your family? So that adds value. People knowing that we are thinking about them, not just as money, but we're really thinking about them, it adds value. Yeah, Oscar.
So this is a question to all of you. English is not my first language. So what I do take notes on, Gretchen, when you always speak, is the way you convey the wording that you use, the kind of combination of the verbiages, because I think coaching is very unique in terms of conversation. And I've noticed this now that I'm coaching in Japanese. I am trying to formulate that same feeling that I try to give my clients when I create value, but in a Japanese different cultural setting where, we express a little bit different, we go deeper a little bit different. We have to ask for permission and kind of weigh if they're comfortable a little bit differently, because there's cultural differences in terms of, I think, Western culture versus an Asian culture. But do any of you kind of feel the same way, that the verbiages are very specific and some are more powerful than others?
Group? Stephen.
The first thing that comes to my mind is the thought that if you're living in their world as a coach, you'll know exactly what to say and how to say it. That's really the only thing that kind of comes up for me. Yeah.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
Have something that they can share about that with Oscar? Adam.
For me, it's sort of being a chameleon in my interactions. So not just within coaching, but also in my 9 to 5. I meet people where they're at. I speak to them at their level. I try to pick up on what I know is going to land well with them and the way that they're speaking with me, or whatever brings up their hackles, whatever that word is, and just really look for sort of engaging at the level that they show up at.
Good. Michael, I saw your hand.
Well, I think it may be a different spin on what everyone else is saying, but I really do use my intuition to get a sense of where they're at. And that sometimes gives me, in whatever language, I guess, whether it's English or any other language, get a sense of what it is that they're either searching for, hungry for, meeting them. By using my intuition, I'm able to, to get an idea of where they're coming from. And then the language follows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Oscar, on this, I think it's really about nuance, that's what you're talking about. It's the nuances, it's the subtleties, it's the undertones. My coaching is very bold, and I am not careful, but I'm respectful. I'm not careful. I throw out all sorts of things, and I'll even say, I don't know if I have that right. How did it hit? And my clients will tell me how it hit. Sometimes it's like, I don't know what you're saying. Or most of the time, though, it's something that's like wow. And it's because I'm coaching with my intuition and I'm not worried about being careful. I am a very bold coach, but respectful, never in a way that it's like, well, you shouldn't think that, or that's weird. You know, it's more, gosh, I'm really curious about what I heard you say and what I think the underbelly of this might be, and then to fill it in for them. You know, to hear the thing with my client today that the reason he's avoiding working is because he believes it has to be hard. You can't tiptoe around saying that. But I just said, gosh, I got something for you. I'm going to throw this out. How does it hit? And he was like, oh my God. Yeah. You know, so some of it with the permission, we don't hold back. We can't ask permission. We say it and then we wait.
So here's what came up. And thank you everybody for sharing your perspective. So I realized that it's not language, it's style. And I think you nailed it. It's the boldness that I'm really attractive because Japanese people are not bold. We're the opposite. We have to be very considerate. We have to tiptoe around the bush a couple times, right? You make 3 times and then you can go for the kill. But I love this boldness that you have. And for me, it's refreshing because one, it doesn't come from, the culture that I have. And for me, English, being bold in English is still a new thing. And maybe that's why I'm like vigorously taking notes and going, oh, I love that expression. Like, oh, I like the way that she expressed this. So it's the style thing. And you're right. It's more of a nuanced style thing, not so much the language.
That's what I'm thinking. I also wonder, and I'll just throw this out there. What if you were bold with the Japanese? You may be a millionaire.
I am actually,
Good.
But I'm respectful.
Yes, that's exactly right. That's exactly
right. And it's easier for me to use Japanese because I know the vocabulary really, really well.
Yeah.
Yeah. English, I'm still struggling. It could be a story, but it's still a learning process for me. So I'm finding the little nuances that you use or, other people use that give me these like cue points that resonate with me. It's like, oh, I want to use that. Oh, that really it hits the nail. Yeah. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. It's funny. Whenever I hear something good, I write it down. My coach says something, I'm like, yep. And then I use it in the next session, practice it. Yeah. Everything is used. So there's really nothing that original anyway. You can use anybody's stuff. Use anything of mine you want.
I do. Thank you.
Good. You're welcome. And so all of these things that we've discussed tonight, from professional self to your social self to showing up boldly, that's what takes it from being a hobby to your profession. And I loved what was said earlier about whatever the hours are that you have, that when you show up for those hours, that you're showing up as a professional. It's not where you're half there, kind of checking your Facebook and kind of doing this, that you're being professional. You are leaning into the coaching realm. And the other piece of this too is that when you are doing your client creation, no matter what stage, don't jack yourself up with the, I have to get clients with an S. It's just the next conversation. It's just the next client that will help your internal regulating system to not be so on high alert of I have to make this much money and it has to be this, or I'm not a real coach. It's not true. Just the next client. That's all that you're looking for. With coaching, I know that some people subscribe to funnels and this and that. I have never seen that work. I have never seen that work for a high level coach where they had a funnel that did something. What I have seen is that the coach has given sound value throughout in whatever way, in a form that does not make anyone feel obligated to do anything in return, and is given with their heart. And I'll give you an example. There's a client that I have. We've worked together on and off for 5 years. And he didn't join something that I hadn't. That's no problem. He texted me the other day and said, I have to admit something to you. And I'm like, okay, this is a weird start to a text with a client. Like, we're not in that kind of a relationship. What are you admitting? And what he said is, I have to tell you that I've hired another coach to do this certain thing with me. And I just wrote back, that is wonderful. And you don't owe me anything. You always need to go where you're getting the value. And I really hope that with this coach, I know what this person's working on, that you get this, this, and this in a way that will help you. Fantastic. I'm going to check in with you in 3 months and let's see how that goes. That's high value. We don't want clients to feel obligated to us. We don't want them to feel like, oh, without our coach, we won't make it. If someone can find a value that isn't in you, let them go. So that's the other thing that creates value too. And with none of that, like, well, good luck. I coached that person that you just hired. I already know how that's going to go. It doesn't have to be anything like that. It's just fantastic and really, really meaning it. That gives high value. So as professional coaches, you want to look for high touch, you want to be high class, and you want to be doing the nuances. Okay, what is one thing that you're going to put into practice between now and our next First Wednesday? Asuka.
I'm going to be bold.
Good.
In all realms.
Fantastic. I can hardly wait to see what happens for you with that.
Thank you.
It's going to be good. Yeah. Adam or Michael?
I'm going to, with the career coaching client, I'm going to just call out what I've seen and see if he's willing to play with that idea for a session.
Good. Yeah. I think that'll be the best session he's ever had with you.
I think so.
And it'll be the one that you enjoy the most.
There we go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good. Fantastic. Michael.
I'm going to scratch my original plan of, the incentive thing, and put on my professional coaching hat, which now made me realize that other one was not desperation, but maybe a tiny bit needy too, even though, like, I was thinking, it's not really about the money, it's just getting more clients. And, and I was, I think that what you suggested is more powerful.
Good. I'll be interested in hearing how that goes for you. And as you guys move forward to remember, really, I can't stress enough, you're coaching the person, not their problem. Whenever someone comes to me and they present a problem, for any of you who've coached with me, we rarely talk about your problem. You tell me, and then I do my voodoo, and we really coach about the other thing that's underneath. And people leave change from that. So you can hear the problem, and that's fine, but don't get stuck on your client's story. That's the other thing with professional coaches. I'm not even invested in my client's story. It's like, yeah, that's good. Okay. And we go for the bigger container. That's what we're doing as coaches. That's what brings value every single time. All right, my friends, it's always so good to see you. And I will see you next First Wednesdays.
Thank you, Gretchen.
Great seeing you.
Thank you so
much.
See everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.
Thanks.
Take
Bye,
care.
everyone.